Another rally about guns at the state capitol this week. Hundreds came. Detroiters, Spartans, the governor.
We are done only offering thoughts and prayers. It is time for action.
It is so difficult because it is not the natural order of life. We are not supposed to be burying our children.
I will not comply.
A few here protesting the protesters and the keynote speaker, former Arizona Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, still recovering from a gunshot to the head in a mass shooting where 6 others were killed in 2011.
But change doesn't happen overnight. I can't do it alone. Join me. Let's move ahead together. Amen.
But now, Michigan gun laws really expected to change. Other laws, too, spinning out of a whirlwind Wednesday House session last week. Elliott-Larsen, right to work. We'll talk about those, but first, background checks for gun purchases.
Simply put, this bill is a slippery slope towards oppressive, authoritative government. Or should I say even more oppressive, authoritative government.
This package will not take anything away from gun owners. It will merely be an inconvenience to you. The same way you inconvenience my curriculum so I can teach my kids survival. A required background check, much like every parent who comes into my classroom has to have to read to my students.
State Rep Jamie Churches, she was a teacher downriver. She introduced a gun bill that passed in a vote split along party lines. The recent shootings at nearby Michigan State University activating legislators.
For a lot of lawmakers, it was personal.
So many connections to MSU. Here's Zoe Clark, Michigan Radio's political director.
That can be frustrating for some people that it takes something personal to get something done. They definitely moved gun safety legislation forward on the calendar.
The bill is passed.
Well, what was the problem that the Republicans had with that?
Well, look, I don't want to just make it all about Democrats versus Republicans, but Democrats want some gun safety legislation that they've been pushing for, and Republicans tend to be Second Amendment, and they say it's not about gun safety legislation, this is a mental health crisis. And Democrats, at least these bills that have been pushed so far, are these 3, right, that many folks say actually can be helpful if you look at the data across the country, and this is safe storage laws, red flag laws, universal background checks. What we know about Michigan voters is, in recent polling, it shows that actually a majority of Michigan voters approve of these 3 pieces of legislation that they're pushing.
Senate Bill number 04, a bill to amend the Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act.
Elliott-Larsen dates back to 1977, protecting Michiganders from discrimination, but not LGBT people. Not till last year when the state Supreme Court decided that it does. But there's no guarantee that ruling can't be overturned, thus the amendment.
I also rise today as the first out queer woman to serve in the Michigan legislature. But I do just want to note that a few months ago, I was prohibited from even making that statement in this chamber. And I'm grateful that the landscape has shifted dramatically.
We're often accused of having a secret agenda. The truth is, the only agenda I have is to live my life free from discrimination and hate.
Many religious individuals and organizations hold deeply held beliefs about sexuality and gender. Forcing them to act in a way that goes against their beliefs is a violation of their religious freedom.
To all those who would invoke the word of the Lord to deny us these rights, I remind you, the Lord created us in his own image. Can you not see the Lord in me? Can you not see the Lord in your gay sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews? Can you not see the Lord in us?
This legislation will show LGBTQ people, particularly LGBTQ people of color, that they can fulfill their full aspirations. Your identity won't limit who you are or what you can do. You don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to feel less than. And that is cause for celebration.
Bipartisan support. 8 House Republicans voted for the amendment.
The bill is passed.
I wonder if some of the talk on the floor by some of the representatives changed some minds.
I don't know how much of it changed minds versus what we know is there were probably some Republican lawmakers even in previous sessions that would have voted for it, but it never actually came to the House or the Senate floor because Republicans were in charge and didn't ever put it up for a vote.
Now, the governors locked the Elliott-Larsen Amendment into state law.
The third big one I'd like to talk about kind of started in 2012, and that's right to work. Yeah. What happened there?
Oh my goodness. So let's go back 10 years ago this past December. This is legislative Republicans pushed forward right to work in an incredible short amount of time. Rick Snyder, then governor Republican, basically said it wasn't on his agenda. This wasn't necessarily something he wanted to do. He believed it was divisive. But he ended up signing it into law, and there were huge protests at the state capitol.
Less commotion last Wednesday as the script was flipped, voting along party lines.
The so-called right-to-work law was designed not to give workers freedom, but to weaken their bargaining power and increase the profits of a few.
Many companies look solely to right-to-work states, and this is one of those major factors in determining whether we're going to land a major economic opportunity for our state.
Right to work was never about freedom. It was simply about control. Dr. Martin Luther King knew that truth all the way back in 1961 when he said, "In our glorious fight for civil rights, we must guard against being fooled by false slogans such as right to work."
Wednesday, that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, winning all of the Oscars. It felt a little like that in Lansing last Wednesday. It really was just the way that the votes happened so quickly. It had a lot of folks head spinning. And what Democrats are saying is like, look, this is what we said we were going to do.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.